Zach, let's talk about this game. I know this game is still over a week away, or not over a week, about a week away, okay? But Ohio State, Texas, a lot of conversation about this one. I'm sure Jeff and I will talk about this one on Wednesday night as well. But Ohio State favored by 2.5. I was watching Josh Pate's show. He put out a poll out there earlier. I didn't actually get to watch the Ohio State Texas segment, but he put out a poll out there earlier. 60% of his audience says Texas is going to get the win here. Zach, I understand people being confident in Texas this season. I understand people thinking Texas has a good chance to win this game. Don't get me wrong. They do. I think Ohio State also has a good chance, though. I don't understand the overconfidence that some people are going out there saying Texas is going to win this one 31-10. It's going to be a repeat of Michigan last year. You've seen some of the SEC accounts coming out there saying that. I understand. They love their hypotheticals, okay? They love their hypothetical matchups. However, I don't see a blowout coming here. I think this Ohio State team is too talented. What are your thoughts going into this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea of Ohio State coming out flat because, spoils goes to the victors, I think is stupid. Like, this is going to be a fired up Ohio State team. And honestly, it should be a fired up Texas team. Like, I think both of these teams are amped and ready to play. And do I think there's a chance for a blowout either way? Obviously, because you've got two quarterbacks who haven't started a lot of football, right? Like, everybody talks about Arch Manning being the more experienced quarterback. He's had 2 starts. So, like, he's going to face a secondary led by Caleb Downs, who is the ultimate chess piece in all of college football. That's exactly how he was used last year. And it's probably how they're going to use him again this year with Matt Patricia's defense. So, like, you could see Arch Manning throwing a couple picks. On the other side, this is the best. I think it's the best front seven in college football for Texas. Colin Simmons, stud. Anthony Hill, stud. You got Michael Taaffe in the back end, stud. I mean, they're just strong everywhere on defense. And even the question marks on defense for Texas, like, they're question marks in the sense that they haven't played much, but they're still good, right? So they're just strong everywhere. And that front seven in particular is very good. So could they give Julian Sayin problems? Absolutely. Could they pick off Sayin and have a strip sack and a pick six and make it 21-0 quick? Yeah, they could. I think if that's where you think this is going to go, though, and say it's because of the talent, you're out of your mind. Because if it's a blowout, you are banking on someone making more mistakes. That's how this game becomes a blowout. It's not going to be a blowout because one team is just so much better than the other one. It's going to be because one of these quarterbacks is going to make mistakes, and it's going to be because both teams, I think, have an advantage on the defensive line over the offensive line. Let me explain that a little bit more. I think Ohio State's offensive line is better than Texas's defensive line. I think Ohio State's offensive line is better than Texas's offensive line. There we go. Texas has 4 new starters. Ohio State has several starters coming back. The problem is they're not facing each other. Texas's defensive line is facing Ohio State's offensive line. And I think Texas's defensive line is going to win that. I think they're going to win more than they lose. I think Ohio State's defensive line, which has no starters coming back, but a lot of depth pieces coming back who are really good. I think Ohio State's defensive line is going to be better than Texas's offensive line, because Texas' offensive line doesn't have any continuity except one starter coming back. So this is where I think the game is going to be won for me, is that I think Ohio State's D-line is going to win a little bit more against Texas's offensive line than Texas's defensive line winning against Ohio State's offensive line. because I think Ohio State has some dudes on that offensive line. I think Bowen has come in and really shored that unit up. I think they have depth on that line that I think is really going to be good for them. I think they might even be able to rotate throughout this game. A couple other guys, Ethan Daniels, or Ethan Owenall and Philip Daniels in particular. And I think where this game is won is which quarterback gets the most time so that they can deliver the ball to their playmakers. I think it's that simple. I think a lot of people are making stuff up or making things about the new coordinators for Ohio State. I think it's both an advantage and a disadvantage, right? Because the advantage is there's continuity on Texas's staff. The disadvantage is they have no idea what the tendencies are going to be for Brian Hartline and Matt Patricia. So I just think it's all a wash. I just think Texas's defensive line is going to, or Ohio State's defensive line is going to win more against Texas's offensive line than vice versa.
Yeah, I think the trenches is probably the most important battle here and everything. You look at the Ohio State offensive line and the Texas offensive line, there's really not all that much different experience between the two. You're looking at very similar starts. The biggest difference is that Texas has two offensive linemen that are going to be starting that have not started a single game in college football yet. Ohio State has like Luke Montgomery, who made two starts, but both those starts were in the playoffs, right? Arch Manning has two starts, but that was against like Mississippi State and UL Monroe. So I think that's a pretty different scenario. If you just look at like the starts and the snaps and stuff like that, you're gonna see something similar with Ohio State and Texas, but I think some of those were more difficult than other ones, and that needs to be taken into account. So, Dave, I see your super chat there. Let me finish. Let's finish this Ohio State Texas discussion, and then we'll get to your super chat. Dave, we appreciate you doing that. And I think the other thing that needs to be talked about here is the center for both of these teams. Cole Hudson for Texas is making his very first start as a center ever in his college career. He has never played center. He has never started at center. Now, he's a senior. This is his fourth year in college football, so he's experienced. He played a lot as a freshman, played a little bit the past two seasons, but didn't really start the past two seasons. So he has experience, but he has experience at primarily right guard, not so much at center. That's where I think Ohio State's offensive line has the advantage over Texas's offensive line, is because Ohio State has the more experienced center in Carson Hinsman, who has played center the past 2 years. Not the entire season the past 2 years, but he's played center the past 2 years. I believe that both Arch Manning and Julian Sayin are going to have some issues trying to call out blitzes, things like that. It's something we talked about with Miller Moss last season at USC. I believed it was one of his deficiencies that didn't get a whole lot of recognition. And I think that's a deficiency that both of these young quarterbacks are going to have that isn't getting a whole lot of recognition either. Arch Manning, yes, he's played. Yes, he's done a lot of snaps, but he's never really came in and be relied upon to audible, to change the pass protection, stuff like that. And I think with a brand new center on top of that, albeit a senior, I think that's also a question mark you have to look at. And then also on the road. What did we see the last time a team came into, the last few times a team came into Ohio State? Indiana struggled a lot with the sound, right? Nebraska struggled a lot with the sound. This has become a theme. Tennessee struggled a lot with the sound of that stadium. A big part of this is not just going to be the pass protection of both teams, but it's also going to be the crowd levels for Ohio State. Can they rough up that Texas offensive line and have them have some issues in their pass protection, their communication, and trying to shift and slide things over? Because if they do, that's going to be a huge advantage for Ohio State, and it's going to help out those rushers, Kenyatta Jackson, Bo Atkinson, and some of those guys coming up through the middle, whether it's the linebackers or whether it's the defensive linemen, Cade McDonald, guys like that as well. So I think that's a huge part of this. The other part of this, I think, is also big, Zach, are the pass catchers for both teams. This is another area where I think Ohio State has more of an advantage than people are giving them credit for. Texas only has one upperclassman receiver on their entire team. They have DeAndre Moore Jr. They brought in the Stanford transfer, Ryan Wingo, a couple other guys. They're all sophomores or lower, so they don't have a ton of experience catching the ball either. I think there's been a lot made about Ohio State not having a ton of experience, but I think there also needs to be more talked about with the Texas offense not having a ton of experience. Not at the wide receiver position. They struggle a little bit with experience on the offensive line as well. They lost their star tight end. What was his name? Gunnar Helm last season as well. I mean, to me, this has all the makings of a rock fight because Ohio State is going to be facing a very experienced, very, very good Texas defense, and it's going to be difficult for them to move the ball, I do believe. So this has everything that's making for a rock fight. I would be surprised if either team scores over 21 points in this game. Zach, I think this is like Notre Dame a few years ago when they came to the Shoe, very first game of the season, and everybody thought Ohio State, C.J. Stroud was going to throw all over the place and score 41-plus points, and they only ended up scoring 21 points. That was with C.J. Stroud in his second year. This is Julian Sayin in his very first year starting. I think you're going to see something like a 17-13 game here or something like that, unless there's just mistakes all over the place and people are turning the ball over and setting up opportunities. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think you have two very disciplined coaches here, two very disciplined teams, and I think Ohio State and Texas it's going to be a really close one, a really low scoring game, and the defenses are going to show out.
Yeah, I agree. I think the total is 47.5. I would I'm not a betting man, but
hammer the under. Yeah,
I can't imagine it being the over.
I saw somebody say that Texas was going to score 31 points in this game, and I was like, how? I understand they have C.J. Baxter, they have Wisner coming back. That's basically all the experience they have on defense. They have the one guard that has a good amount of experience, but I mean, and Baxter didn't even play last season. Hopefully he's all healthy and good this season. But man, I just personally don't see either team scoring over 21 points.
No, I don't think either team's going to run the ball well.
Well, they didn't in the playoff game either. Neither teams rushed for over 100 yards.
Yeah, Ohio State's replacing. Not enough people are talking about the fact that Travion Henderson's tearing it up in NFL preseason right now. And they're replacing him and Quinshon Judkins. And I think Peoples is going to be a good back. I think CJ Donaldson's good. But again, Texas's front seven is fantastic. And I think that's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to run on them. But it's going to be tough for them to run. As much as we've talked about the lack of depth at defensive tackle, Cade McDonald is a freak. Edric Houston is healthy. And the linebackers, Sonny Styles has really developed into not just a good linebacker, but an athletic freak at linebacker. And Arvell Reese is not that far behind. So I think anyone who thinks that Ohio State is going to, score 40 plus because they've got all these receivers, I think that will help them move the ball. Mm-hmm. But I'm not sure that you're going to get, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to move the ball for both these teams. I agree. I think the under. Yeah.
The Penn State guy says, I think because Ohio State losing 8 starters on D is why they think Texas will score higher, but Texas replacing O-line makes sense as well. Yeah, and that's why, I wasn't trying to say that Ohio State wasn't replacing people too. I appreciate you bringing that up there, the Penn State guy, but that's why I was talking about the lack of experience for Texas on the offensive side of the ball as well, because this is truly a situation where Ohio State brought back some of their biggest contributors last season, right? Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, some of the offensive linemen that played in that playoff run as well. But you also have a brand new starting quarterback, brand new starting running back, and James Peoples most likely. And so you have that, but you also have a Texas offense that is trying to replace a lot as well and has a whole lot of young players. So to me, there's just a whole lot being replaced. Really the only unit that is bringing back a ton of guys is Texas's defense. They have Michael Taaffe, Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill Jr. But even then you have a higher returning production for Ohio State according to ESPN than Texas. So I think Max Clair is going to be huge in this game. I think that Texas is going to do everything kind of like what they did against Jeremiah Smith last season. I think that you're going to see a lot of that same stuff. I think that Ohio State will try to counteract it. But I think also at the same time, Ohio State threw the ball to Carnell Tate a lot. I think Ohio State's going to feel pretty good trying to throw the ball to Max Clare in this one as well. I think his athleticism, I don't think linebackers can guard him, and I think that he's going to get loose and have a couple big plays in this one, 20, 30-plus yard receptions, and he's going to be a key factor. He's not Travion Henderson taking a screen pass or anything like that, don't get me wrong, but I could see him having some big plays in this one and kind of being a bit of an X factor for them, going up the seam in the middle, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think this is a huge Max Clare game, which he's.
Yeah.
I think he's the best. I think you can make an argument that he's going to be the best tight end that Texas faces all season. Mm-hmm. And that's saying something because you got a lot of good tight ends that they're going to face in the SEC. Back to the Penn State guy's point. The other thing that people are overlooking with Ohio State's defense, yes, they lost 8 starters. Kenyatta Jackson and Caden Curry played a lot of minutes. K-Mac played a lot of minutes. Bo Atkinson was a starter at UNC. Arvell Reese wasn't considered a starter, but he played like he was their third linebacker. Like he played a lot. Jermaine Matthews played a lot. Like by the letter of what you mean by starter, yes, they lost 8 starters, but there's a lot of guys on that defense that were almost like co-starters a year ago. Like Matthews was rotating a lot with Burke. So that's not to say that they're better than the guys that left. I'm not saying that, but it's a little bit of a misnomer to say that they lost 8 starters.
In fairness, too, Texas has super talented guys behind him as well. And that's what makes this game so interesting, right? Both teams lost a number of starters, but both teams have guys ready that are coming in and are going to produce right away because of the talent they have there. And Texas, to their credit, they went out, they saw an issue on their interior of their defensive line. What'd they go out and do? They got like 5 dudes out of the portal, paid them all really high dollar values and said, look, whoever's the best will start. And they're going to come out there and have one of the best defensive lines in all of the country because of that, because of Colin Simmons, because of those interior defensive linemen that they paid. I know they run more of like a 3-man front, so I say interior defensive line. You get what I mean, though. Colin Simmons still lines up as an edge. He's more of an outside linebacker kind of, but still lines up as an edge. So, but you get what I'm saying. So, score predictions, Zach. I think, one more thing. Found this good stat. You ready for this? Mm-hmm. When Steve Sarkisian has faced a team twice in the same season. Now, this isn't the same season, but this is still pretty close, right? Steve Sarkisian faced Ohio State 2 games ago. Well, 1 game ago for them, 2 games ago for Ohio State. When Steve Sarkisian has faced teams twice in the same season, 2024 with Texas, they lost to Georgia both times. 2015 with USC, they lost to Stanford both times. I know it's not the same season, but it's pretty close. So could Texas lose this one after losing to Ohio State recently as well? We'll see. I have the Buckeyes winning 17-13, sticking true to what I said. Don't think either team scores over 21 in this one. I do reserve the right if there's some kind of turnover or something like that. I agree with what Michael says here. 21-17 type of game, unless you pick 6 or 2. Yeah, that's where I'm going to be at it with it as well. Probably no more than 21 points. Maybe a pick 6, something like that could change that. But what do you got, Zach?
Similar. Same margin. I have 24-20. And I think with everything that we said, the one thing we haven't, I think we've touched on it, but I'm just going to make this point. When things are even, who has the best players on the field? The 2 best players in college football are Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs. And even if they triple team Jeremiah Smith, he's still kind of your get out of jail free card. And I think on defense, like Caleb Downs is he's the ultimate chess piece. And that's taking nothing away from Texas. I think Anthony Hill is, oh my gosh, he's so good. Mm-hmm. He's so good. But you can't move him around like you can Caleb Downs. Mm-hmm. And I just think that it, it it makes things more complicated for really, in a sense, a first time starter. Like I get Arch has started games, but not in this magnitude, not this quality of opponent. Um, so I like 24-20 Ohio State. That's kind of been we've been thinking Ohio State win since the beginning. So like it's not new, but and I think
Now
we could
call us the
easily
Paul Feinbaums of Ohio State. So
yeah. Yeah. 50-17 Ohio State. No.
no, we're not that bad. We're not
Yeah.
that bad.
Yeah, no. I but I just think Texas can easily win this game, by the way.
Yeah.
But I just think there's enough wins you see on the line that your playmakers can impact the game. I think that's the way the game goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't bet much, but if I'm betting, the only thing I'm betting on this game is the under. do the under. That's all I'm betting on this game, but who knows? There might be a pick six or two and it completely ruin that too. So we'll see. All right, Zach, let's get into our last segment here. Oh, by the way, Thursday night, I plan to go live after all the games Thursday night as well. So I said that we wouldn't have a show Thursday night, and I meant to say we won't have the Big Ten or the Big Jeff's insights on Thursday night. I'm going to go live after the last game is over on Thursday night, whether that's, Nebraska or somebody else when that final game is over, and we can just kind of chat it up, have a good time. I don't know, might do call in or something like that. We'll see. But come back Thursday night for that. We'll have a good time then.